Remember, the key to success is working hard. For our country, we must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress we surely will. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance.
Now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production. I want to welcome you to this segment in the program. Again, I want to say to those on Facebook and YouTube, please share the live. When you share the live, you give your friends, the people who are a part of your friend list on Facebook, the opportunity to view the program or to decide whether they will view the program or not. YouTube, the same thing. Share, share, share. All right, that's very important. Share, share, share. Nice. So let me just take that call here. Let me just take that call. All right, permit me to take that call here. All right, I missed that call. Okay, so let me get straight into it for this morning. Let me share with you something that is very important. Last night I touched on it a bit, but this is big. Some people don't understand how big. Let me just take that call. That person is calling consistently there. Let me just take that call. All right, let me take that call. Let me play a little piece of our team song.
Now the election back and I'll die away. In short, this is what I have to say. Let us forget fights and grudges and concentrate. Come, let us sit and try to relate. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come, let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come, my brother, come, my sister, and let us build a nation together.
All right, sorry for that there. I was trying to take that call, but I was unsuccessful. It seems as though it's some organization that's calling me. So again, I started that conversation last night looking at the affidavit as published by the New Today newspaper from Mrs. Marietta Mitchell. An affidavit is a legal document, meaning she actually swore, right? She took that oath, swearing that whatever she will say in that document is nothing but the truth. All right? So whatever she puts into that document, she's vowing that it is the truth. The account she's given is the truth. And the respondent will have to counter it, will have to put forward an argument that what she's saying is not so. But an affidavit is a very, very powerful document. So in that affidavit, because I want to go through it again with you as a public service, I want to read what Keith Mitchell's wife is saying. All right? I want to read what he's actually saying, what she's actually saying for you, because that's important. Very, very important. All right? It seems as though the folks, they call in again. Let me just take that call. All right? Permit me to take that call.
Oh, Remember, the key to success is working hard. For our country, we must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress we surely will. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation.
Right, so that was a important one there. So I had to take that one, at least communicate via WhatsApp. All right, yeah, that was an important one. So just saying, folks, as a public service, I think it is important to get the public into this conversation, because here you have a woman, right? A woman who is talking about her account, telling her story, what she is going through with a person who served as prime minister for a long time, for a very long time. So you expect that person to be more responsible, to treat at least a woman with a little more dignity and a little more respect. All right? So that's important. That's how I see it. I see it as a man treating a woman the way they're supposed to be treated. And make it even worse, a former prime minister who served for so long, that is my concern. Right? That is my concern. But let me go through this affidavit with you as a public service. But before I do that, my mind just flashed back on a situation. And maybe through that, you might understand how men operate, right? Because I'm moving now from the affidavit. I'll come back to it, right? I'll come back to it. But it is so important that you understand how men generally operates. And I'm giving you an example. There was a particular politician, right? A particular politician who, when another politician was in financial problems, right? And the bank decided to sell his house, right? And here it is. The bank decided to sell that house, repossess the house because he's owing the bank a certain amount of money. And he was living in that house with his wife. And they're all senior people, old in age, right? That person, that individual was a member of parliament for a particular constituency, I think twice, either twice or three times. All right? I think it was twice. I think so. And the bank wanted to sell the house because he was owing. So that particular politician with money, and I'm giving you an example of how men treat people. And the politician steps in, pay the money for that next or the other politician, pay the money, and the bank did not sell the house again, but instead the house went to that politician. All right? To that politician. So So as a result, the politician signed an agreement with that politician who had problems with the house and that kind of thing. Sign an agreement, which says, well, when you die, the property belongs to me. It's mine. Not even considering the fact that the politician who was in the difficulty was living with his wife for many, many, many years in that house. A lot of years. And if the individual dies, then, right, so one term. So that politician made one term, right? One term. So here it is. So I am saying that individual passed away, but his wife remained alive and still alive as we speak. All right. So let me just. All right. So it's amazing. When that politician died, the wife was still alive, and the wife living in the house and everything like that. And that politician who had the money, who bailed out the politician, so that politician then decided he wants to develop the property, take the property, make it into X and Y. So he decided to put that lady in a home, right? Just dump her in a home. It's amazing, right? Yeah, that is what you're dealing with, you know. So that politician decided he will put that lady in a home, upgrade the property, put swimming pool, put big walls all around the place, and bring his concubine in that particular property. Right? And again, I'm telling you, it's an example I'm giving you. So if you want me to repeat that example, I could. There was this politician, right, who ran and won his seat, but eventually over time, he ended up in some financial difficulties. And there was this politician who had money, cash. He decided to bail out the individual, but had the individual sign an agreement. So he bailed him out with the bank, had the individual sign an agreement saying, well, you know, when you die, when that individual dies, the property will remain in the hands of the politician who bails him out, right? So he's there for life, more or less. So that politician who bailed the guy out did not even consider he had a wife in that house, living in that house. And two of them, they are ripe in age, right? So the politician, the guy who was in financial difficulties, died, and what the individual, the politician who bailed him out, who paid the money and paid the bank and so on, who bailed the guy out, decided to step in now, take the property, put swimming pool and upgrade and so on the property, but he decided to take that wife and put her in a home. She had to leave the property and go in a home and stay. So some people must understand how some men does treat women, generally speaking. And that's just an example I'm giving of how individuals can treat other people. And as a friend said, it's unconscionable. But that is the nature of certain individuals. So as soon as the individual died, you know, not long after, he placed the individual wife in a home, and the individual wife is still alive, right? And I'm giving an example. I'm not talking about the affidavit and whatever with that. I'm only giving a general example of how men could treat women and how they do things. Here you had a person who was in need of help. You bailed the person out financially, but you took that bold step to make that individual sign an agreement which says that the property belongs to you once the individual dies. But he has his wife, and his wife is still alive. And the minute time the individual died, you step in, you take the property, and you put the, the individual wife in a home, and she is in a home as we speak. That's just a general example of how men could treat women, right? At least the individual should have make provisions for the wife, get somewhere decent for the wife, but instead you place her in an elderly home, that kind of thing. Just dump her there. But it's sad, really sad, how some men just treat women. So that's just an example. All right. So I want to now move to something totally different, right? Totally different. And that is the affidavit speaking to Keith Mitchell's wife and what she had to say about a particular lengthy uh, situation or problem that she's going through. And in that affidavit, she detailed what she went through, right? She outlined some of the things that she went through over a period of time and still going through. All right? That's important. She, in an affidavit, saying, this is what I had to endure. This is what I am going through, and I need the court to intervene. I need the court to intervene because I am fearful. I am worried. I am facing tyranny. I'm facing real horrors and problems. So I would read for you what the affidavit contained as a public service. And in that affidavit, the respondent is Keith Mitchell. So anytime she referred to the respondent, anytime she refers to the respondent in that affidavit, and you hear respondent, it's Keith Mitchell. All right? So from time to time, I'll let you know the respondent is Keith Mitchell. So let me start now. I, Marietta Mitchell of Happy Hill in the parish of St. George and state of Grenada, retired businesswoman, make oath and say as follows. All right? 1. I am the petitioner herein. 2. I make this affidavit in support of my application for an order that the respondent, and the respondent again here is Keith Mitchell, and or his agents be restrained by this honorable court from interfering and or disturbing my occupation of the matrimonial home situate at Happy Hill, St. George, until the final determination of the auxiliary relief proceedings of this suit. So what she's actually saying is that she sued or she filed for divorce, and that is before the court. But while this is going on, she's going through some problems with the respondent, and she's asking the court now to step in, to restrain them, to contain them, to stop them from doing what they're doing. And when I say they, the respondent and or agents. 3, the respondent, Keith Mitchell, and I got married, meaning Marietta, So the respondent, Keith Mitchell and Marietta, got married on the 22nd day of June 1974, which is approximately 48 years ago. A copy of our marriage certificate is exhibited herein as MM1. All right? MM1. 4. The respondent, Keith Mitchell, and I started, meaning Marietta. When you hear I, it's personal pronoun here. I, it refers to Marietta, Marietta Mitchell. Respondent, Keith Mitchell. The respondent and Marietta started occupation of the matrimonial home since 1989 after they got married. But here they would have we got married, but I am speaking. As time passed, we, meaning Keith Mitchell and Marietta, experienced marital problems and decided to live separate and apart from each other in or about 2015. Due to the contentious behavior of the respondent, Keith Mitchell, I now have to file, when she say I, Marietta, have to file divorce proceedings and thereafter and ancillary proceedings to determine our respective interest in the Happy Hill property. The respondent, being the former Prime Minister of Grenada, resided at Government House, situate at Sanssouci, right? At Sanssouci, St. George's, throughout the duration of his term as Prime Minister for many years, and in Victoria, St. Mark, periodically. 7. While I continued to reside and occupy the Happy Hill property, that being the matrimonial home, I frequently traveled to New York to manage our matrimonial assets we have acquired in the United States. 8. The respondent, Keith Mitchell, and I, Marietta Mitchell, with the assistance of our respective attorneys, have agreed to the separation of specific assets amicably in Grenada and out of the jurisdiction. However, we have not determined the interest of the said matrimonial home. So what she's saying, the two attorneys or attorneys for both parties, Marietta Mitchell and Keith Mitchell, they agreed how much will go towards Marietta, how much will go towards Keith Mitchell in Grenada and out of Grenada. But they have not yet agreed on the matrimonial home. And Marietta is saying that is where she lives, and she has been living there for a lot of years. All right? The respondent, and I'm continuing, 9, the respondent, Keith Mitchell, suddenly after his defeat in the Grenada 2022 general elections, have embarked on a multiplicity of acts to interfere and or disturb my occupation of the said matrimonial home before the resolution of auxiliary relief proceedings and or an agreement determining the interest thereof. So here is Marietta detailing what took place thereafter. 10. I was served a letter dated the 27th day of July 2022 from the respondent's attorney, that's Keith Mitchell's attorney, Kim George and Associates, on behalf of the respondent, Keith Mitchell, effectively demanding me, meaning Marietta, vacate the said matrimonial home approximately 30 days from the date of the letter. A copy of the letter is exhibited and marked MM2. And I'm happy that she mentioned here after the defeat in Grenada, the Grenada 2022 general elections, because I told you this guy was badly bruised from that election, in my belief. 11. I was advised by my attorney at law, Mr. Edwards, and asserted my right not to vacate the said matrimonial home that I resided in since 1989. The following week, the respondent sent laborers to the said matrimonial home to conduct construction, and the respondent is Keith Mitchell, to conduct construction to the lower floors of the said home. The laborers disturbed my quiet, and my here meaning Marietta, quiet enjoyment of the matrimonial property. They were further instructed by the respondent, Keith Mitchell, and that's an affidavit I'm reading from here as public service, to enter the interior of the upstairs portion of the said property where I occupied. That's Marietta saying that's where she occupied. 13. By way of letter dated the 15th day of September 2022, I instructed my attorney, Mr. Edwards, to highlight all grievances at the material time with regards to the matrimonial home and to put the respondent on notice that I do not intend to vacate as he demanded. I further emphasize that if he continued with his act of tyranny, yes, I would seek the relief of this honorable court to restrain him or his agents. A copy of the said letter is attached hereto and marked MM3. All right, MM3. So that's important. Very important. All right, good. Continuing. Let me just, right, good. Nice. As I stated before, my personal valuable belongings are within the four walls of the said matrimonial home. If my valuables are stolen by the respondent's agent, is he willing to compensate me for them? As a question. All right? That's the respondent, Keith Mitchell. When I traveled to the United States, or to be specific, when I traveled to New York to conduct business and manage our property in the United States, the respondent proceeded, that's Keith Mitchell, proceeded to have the locks changed to the doors to enter the upper floor of the matrimonial home. And that's the first lock change. So you have to mark the amount of lock changer because it's a lot based on the affidavit that she's actually saying. She said, when I traveled to New York to conduct business and manage our property in the United States, the respondent here being Keith Mitchell, proceeded to have the locks changed to the doors to enter the upper floor of the matrimonial home. By way of letter dated the 6th day of October 2022, the respondent replied to my letter through his attorney, insinuating that I do not have a right to occupy the matrimonial home, and even falsely asserted that my personal belongings were removed by me. The respondent, Keith Mitchell, further asserted that I left the matrimonial house unsecured, and because I traveled meant I acceded to his request. A copy of the said letter is attached hereto and marked MM4. 17. It is quite unfortunate that we are now at an impasse, and every time I traveled, the respondent, Keith Mitchell, has to commit some unlawful act to prevent me access from the matrimonial house or home. I keep wondering why why he doesn't attempt to do these unlawful acts while I am in Grenada. That's Marietta. 18. I was advised by my attorney, Mr. Edwards, at the material time to instruct my son, Olinga, to change the locks to gain access and once again assert my right to occupy the said matrimonial home. So now the son is involved in this drama where Olinga, my good partner, my good friend, right? So Marietta Mitchell is saying, Marietta, was advised by my attorney at law, Mr. Edwards, at the material time to instruct my son, and her son here being Olinga, to change the locks to gain access and once again assert my right to occupy the said matrimonial home. So, I mean, this is a movie. If you don't believe me, this is just one or two of the locks. We're continuing. There's a locksmith involved here, There is some lock specialist changing locks, and let's go on. 19. Marietta saying, I returned to Grenada on the 13th day of October 2022, and the only way to gain access to the property was after I changed the locks again and notified the respondent, Keith Mitchell, a key is readily available for collection. I, Marietta, find it beyond reasonable that the respondent, Keith Mitchell, would attempt to prevent me access to the matrimonial home, knowing that he hardly visits the same. Right? Let's continue. Once again, I traveled, that's Marietta, traveled to the United States, New York, to deal with an emergency with the property in the United States. The respondent, Keith Mitchell, the respondent and or his agent changed the locks and then constructed burglar bars to the windows and doors of the upper floor of the said matrimonial home. A copy of the photos illustrating the burglar bars on the window and the doors are attached here to and mark MM5. Our son Olinga had to change the two locks once again for me to gain access to the property, for me to occupy same on my return to Grenada in December 2022. A copy of the photos illustrating the locks changed are attached here to and mark MM6 23. I, Marietta, have spent the entire December 2022 in Grenada residing in the matrimonial home, and I feared as soon as I traveled again, the respondent, Keith Mitchell, changed the locks again, and he continued to interfere and or disturb my occupation of the matrimonial home. 2024. By way of letter dated the 28th day of April 2023, I instructed my attorney, that's I, Marietta Mitchell, instructed my attorney, Mr. Edwards, to write to the respondent, Keith Mitchell's lawyer, to request of the respondent, Keith Mitchell, that he refrain from changing the locks to the matrimonial home. A copy of the said letter is attached hereto and marked MM7. All right? Continuing. MM7. All right? By way of letter dated the 28th day of April 2023, the respondent's attorney at law, Ms. Kim George, failed to address our client's main concern of changing of the locks. A copy of the said letter is attached here to and marked MM8. 26. By way of letter dated the 28th day of April 2023, I, Marietta, instructed my lawyer, Mr. Edwards, to respond and again request what is it the respondent's position with regards to the matrimonial home. Copy of the said letter is attached here to and marked MM9. There has been no response from the respondent's attorney at law with regards to the respondent's position. 27. I, Marietta, recently returned from New York to Grenada on the 8th day of September 2023 to discover that the respondent changed the lock, to discover that the respondent, who is Keith Mitchell, changed the locks to the doors to the matrimonial home once again. This cannot continue. 28. I, Marietta, do not know what he is capable of on the next occasion I travel. And I'm fearful. So this is a woman fearful. She's afraid. Fearful that this will not stop until he's satisfied I am completely out of the matrimonial home. I will not be bullied by the respondent, Keith Mitchell, and or his agents. Continuing. This is a movie, you know. This is a sequel. This is a drama. 29. We have no choice but to make this application to this honorable court, since the respondent, Keith Mitchell, has indicated to me that the matrimonial home is his and I must vacate. 30. I refuse to give up. And that's a woman, a strong woman, who is saying, I, Marietta, refuse to give up and depend heavily on the power of this honorable court to forcefully order the respondent Keith Mitchell to refrain himself and or his agents from interfering with my occupation of the matrimonial home, until auxiliary relief proceedings are determined. The respondent, Keith Mitchell, is aware I have no alternative accommodations within the jurisdiction of Grenada, unless the respondent, Keith Mitchell, wants me to reside with our son and his new wife in their apartment. I pray my application is granted as prayed by this honorable court and cost of the application. So that's the end of the affidavit. But folks, I want to call on GNOW, the Grenada National Organization for Women. I want to call on the women within the NDC party. I want to call on the women within the NNP party. I want to call on women's group within churches in Grenada to stand up with this woman who is fearful that something bad will happen to her. She outlined the problems, the tyranny that she has to face and go through. And I say to you folks, she's a woman. It's tough, and I feel it for her. I empathize with her. I'm saddened at what you have to go through. But I'm calling on all the women's organization in Grenada to stand up with this goodly lady. Come to her aid. Come to her aid. Stand up with her. Women of Grenada, come to her aid. 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 Amen. Because what she's going through is hell on earth. No woman has to go through that kind of tyranny and bullying and fear. I am calling on all women everywhere to stand up with this goodly lady. Because here you have a woman crying out for help from the court. But we must stand with her to ensure that she's safe. Safe from, as she asserts in her affidavit, a bully. Safe from one who is doing things that one wonders, why would a man do such a thing to a woman based on the affidavit? So I'm calling on all women everywhere to stand by her side. And I'm calling on the court to quickly intervene before something happens to this goodly lady. Quickly intervene. I feel it for her. I empathize with her. I'm sorry. Sorry for what you're going through as a woman. And Keith Mitchell, I want to say to you, where is your manhood? Because based on the affidavit, I'm not saying that what she's saying is true or false. But I can tell you, I believe her. And I have a right to my belief. But I'm saying further, if this is true, I'm urging you to stop. Stop it. Stop it, Keith Mitchell, if it is true. You have been Prime Minister of this country for so long. But boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Right, so I'll leave that right there. Right, so I'm moving from that issue to go back to how some men generally could treat women. So I put in a full stop to the affidavit and the conversation with Keith Mitchell and his wife and all this thing there. Full stop. I'm moving on to a different subject matter. An example again of how a man could treat a woman. there was this politician who ended up in financial problems, right? Financial woes. He couldn't finish pay the bank for his house, and the bank wanted to sell his house. So a certain politician who had money decided to bail out the individual, to pay the bank for the individual. Then, when the certain politician did that, he then made the politician who was struggling with financial problems sign a document stating that when he dies, the property belongs to him, the politician. But that individual who was in financial problems had his wife, and both of them were pretty old in age, right? Senior in age, 70 something, 80 something, senior in age. So the minute time the individual died, that said politician who bailed him out went and take the property and put out the wife, and she ended up in a home, right? So she was dumped in a home, placed in a home, put out, and end up in a home for the age, out of the house that she was in, because the husband died and that politician signed some agreement with that guy who, was fighting to keep his house, keep his home. The bank wanted to sell it. And, he assisted, but he made him sign that agreement, but not even considering that the guy had a wife and they were pretty old in age. So the guy passed away and the wife had to leave the property, and she ended up in a home. That politician now took the house, put swimming pool, put big wall all around, upgrade, do X, do Y, and the lady's in a home. That is how some people treat women. No consideration. No consideration. But that's just an example I'm giving of how men could treat women, and they have no consideration, no nothing. They just don't care, right? What people think. And I could give you another example, But let me add, that said politician who bailed out the guy died, put out the wife, she ended up in the home. He then go repair the facility. You know what he did? He then put his concubine in that house. Yeah, he then put his concubine in that house, the faceless monster. And I don't know if you know who's the faceless monster. All right? I don't know. And I'm not insinuating, I am not inferring here. I'm just giving an example of what could happen when people don't consider women and how they treat women, and especially when they have money and so on. It's sad, really, really sad. So I'm saying that to all the young people. I'm saying that to all the middle-aged folks and so on, and saying that to you so you can learn what's going down, right? So you can understand what is happening here, and that you will not be tricked in the future. Because that is the whole thing. They believe you're going to forget. They believe that all of this will just pass. But it's so important to talk about these things and give you examples of, right? Not calling any name or attaching anybody to it, but just saying these are real examples that one can learn from. But folks, we are almost out of time. Let me just play a little ad here for the women's arm of the NDC.
The women's arm of the NDC invites you to its October extravaganza at Mourne Rouge playing field on October 28th. Come and enjoy music, dance, culture, business exhibits, children's games, and bouncing castles. You can even have your health checked. Vending booths are available for rental. Call 449-5872 or 419-5177 for more information. Remember, the women's arm of the National Democratic Congress invites you to its October extravaganza, Mourne Rouge playing field on October 28th. See you there.
All right, so that would wrap up this morning's program. I don't want to talk about anything else, but I want you to kind of think about what I discussed today. Think about the conduct of whoever and take it from there. All right. So, folks, have a wonderful day. Peace and love. Thank you very much. I'll be back with you tonight. No, I would not be back with you tonight in the program because I have to attend an important event down there at Radisson Hotel, right? So I will not be on tonight. Tomorrow's a holiday, so I will not be on tomorrow. And then because I want to participate in the activities and so on tomorrow. So I'll be back on uh tomorrow is all right, Friday morning. All right, Friday morning. So take good care and bye for now. Take good care and bye for now.